Welcome to this Museum Accreditation webinar. My name is Jennie Pitceathly, and I'm the Accreditation Advisor for the Northwest. This webinar will help you get started with an application or a return to the accreditation scheme. It covers the wraparound and technical bits of the Museum Accreditation Standard. These are the objectives for the webinar. You'll learn what's new and what's changed in the 2018 standard, which will be particularly relevant for returning applicants. You'll gain an overview of the guidance documents and what's available in terms of guidance. Gain an understanding of the online system, which is used for applications and for returns. And learn about the impact of COVID-19 on the scheme and subsequent returns timetable. So what's changed? Again, this will be returning applicants should note these changes. The return cycle has changed. It's now every 5 years instead of every 3 years. There's a balance between the sections and the numbering of the sections, which previously were very weighted towards collections and how collections are managed. There's much more of a balance now between the governance of your organization, the way you manage your collections, and how you develop your audiences. The environmental policy requirement has been removed. Access to professional advice. So previously, where museums don't have a paid member of staff to support them, they could access a museum mentor. These are now being called accreditation mentors because they're used primarily to support the accreditation process. The eligibility questionnaire and mentor expression of interest have changed slightly. Again, these are all available on the Arts Council's website, and I will give you resources and links at the end of this presentation. And where previously the Arts Council referred to areas for improvement that were required by museums, these are now called areas for development. This is what the guidance document looks like. Again, it's available on the Arts Council's website, and I'll provide links to all the documents and all the guidance at the end of this presentation. There are also comprehensive resources available on the Collection Trust website, which works very closely with the Arts Council. There's governance guidance that has been produced in the last couple of years, and this is to reflect the increasing breadth of different governance types that there are within the museum sector. Spectrum 5 has now superseded Spectrum 4. A new requirement is to have an access policy and associated plan. And the online portal and linked guidance to accessing the online portal are also new. So the online portal that is hosted by the Arts Council is called Grantium. All returning museums and all new applicants need to register on Grantium. You should note, though, that your museum might already have a profile on the system if you've applied to the Arts Council for funding since 2016. So check that before you set up a new profile. To register, you'll need to upload your governing document and bank account details, which are in the legal name of the applicant organization. You'll have to set up an applicant and user profiles. So the applicant is the organization or the museum that's applying for accreditation, and the user is yourself and any other members of staff or members of the workforce that will have access to the system to support the application. You should note, though, that all users will be able to see all information that is uploaded onto Grantium, including past funding applications. So just be aware of that. The last thing is that all communication with the Arts Council will be managed via Grantium. So emails that you receive and communication will be uploaded on the system. Getting started on Grantium. So there's specific guidance to help you set up a user and an applicant profile on Grantium, and you should look to setting up a profile as soon as you receive your returns invite. Please be aware that it does take up to 10 days to activate the profile, so don't leave it to the last minute. Read the new accreditation guidance documents before you get started. Once your account has been activated, go through the returns process. So go through the form online, click through the application to open up all the boxes and all the sections that you'll need to complete your return. You may find it useful to print out the return as a PDF to share with the wider team who might be helping you with your application or your return. And it's also recommended that you compose your copy in a Word document and then pull together all your accompanying documents and then look to upload it. While doing your accreditation return on Grantium, for services that have multi-sites, use the main site or select a site that you will call your main site as the primary applicant or the returning applicant, and use that for all subsequent sites. Refer to the main applicant each time so that you don't have to upload everything in duplicate and triplicate. Just remember that for each policy plan procedure, an attachment will be requested, so you'll need to upload something. So you might just upload a Word document that references where the main document is held and which site it sits with. If you haven't indicated that a document is up for renewal, don't worry, because your assessor will come back to you through Grantium and make that request. Remember also, returning applicants, that in addition to areas for development, where there are any changes at your museum, you need to update the Arts Council via Grantium. And by that, what I mean really is to really consider what changes affect your accreditation return. So for returning applicants, a lot will have happened to your museum and your museum services since your last accreditation return. COVID-19 will have impacted many, if not all, aspects of your service. So it's worth considering how changes will need to be reflected across various policies, plans, and procedures. So here, this is just a list of some of the things that will impact on one or more than one policy, plan, and procedure that you should start to work through before you get your return invite. So the technical bits associated with Grantium, save often by clicking the save button. In terms of the navigation, don't use your browser buttons because it'll take you out of the form and out of the system and you'll need to log back in. Do bear in mind that character counts on Grantium are slightly different than in a Word document. Just be aware of that when you start to cut and paste things across. Note that the eligibility, so for new applicants or museums considering an application, that the eligibility questionnaire is still an offline process. So the eligibility questionnaire is downloaded from the website and completed and then emailed in separately. It's not done by Grantium. Your accreditation advisor, that's me in the Northwest, and MD team regionally, we do not have access to your application. So just bear that in mind, that we cannot log into the system and see your application because we're not employees of the Arts Council. So you must direct all Grantium technical queries to the Arts Council's technical team. So what happens next? So your application or your return is assessed by a member of staff from the Arts Council. They'll liaise directly with you via Grantium. New applicants will receive a site visit, though in the aftermath of COVID-19 and subsequent lockdowns, it might be a virtual visit in the first instance. You should anticipate that your assessment will take up to 6 months, and the assessor will then make a recommendation to the accreditation committee. The committee is a panel of members of your peer group. There are other people working in the museum sector. The assessor will tell you what their recommendation is going to be before it goes to panel, so there'll be no surprises there. The award decision rests just with the panel, not with the assessor. Possible decisions that they can make are that you will receive full accreditation, that you'll receive a provisional award, that they'll defer a decision if they decide that they need further information from you. Alternately, you could be removed from the scheme or removed and excluded due to any non-compliance. All of this is outlined towards the end of the guidance document, together with information about significant changes at your organizations and what the impact of that might be on an award decision, and anything around financially motivated disposals. And this is particularly relevant if you are watching this webinar in 2021-22. So when the first lockdown was announced, the Arts Council paused the accreditation scheme throughout the whole of the financial year 2020 to 2021. The scheme reopened in England from April 2021. And with that opening, current award status for museums that would have done a return in that closed period has been extended for 12 months to the 1st of April 2022. If you have submitted a return or application and are awaiting a decision, you'll be given an opportunity to review and update your information in response to the pandemic, and given a further 12 months to do this, so up until the 1st of April 2022. Eligibility is unchanged, that's ongoing, and museums working towards accreditation can submit an application to the Arts Council from April 2021. It's worth checking the Arts Council's website for their full list of FAQs related to COVID-19, and that will clarify any questions you might have, depending on your status and where you are in the return cycle and the application process. And this is a list of resources that will help you with your return. So you've got access to the accreditation team, access to various guidance documents at the Arts Council, the Collections Trust website, which, as I mentioned, holds a number of accreditation resources, templates, case studies, etc. And there's always your regional museum development team and accreditation advisor. Thank you.